Few groups in history have faced as much hatred and misunderstanding as the Samaritans. But who exactly were the Samaritans, and why did the Jews hate them so much? And what can we learn from the extraordinary compassion Jesus showed toward them? Today we will discover where the Samaritans came from, the ancient conflicts that isolated them, and how Jesus Christ broke down those walls through acts of love and unity. This is not just an old story. It's a timeless lesson for us today on breaking barriers, loving our neighbors, and looking beyond our differences. So stay with us till the end as we uncover the incredible lessons hidden in these ancient conflicts. If you want to know the true accounts of the Holy Bible, explore the hidden treasures of history, and learn from the unique teachings of Jesus, then you've come to the right place. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with your friends and family. We love hearing your thoughts, so please share your opinion about this amazing story in the comments below. The origins of the Samaritans. To understand the beginnings of the Samaritans, we must go back to the time when Israel was one united nation under King Solomon. Solomon's reign was marked by beauty, wisdom, and peace. But after his death, the unity of Israel broke apart. During the reign of Solomon's son Rehoboam, heavy taxes and internal conflict caused the kingdom of Israel to split in two: the northern kingdom, called Israel, and the southern kingdom, called Judah. The northern kingdom of Israel was made up of 10 of the 12 tribes and made Samaria its capital, a strategic location that became the center of Samaritan history. The southern kingdom, Judah, remained under David's family line and had Jerusalem as its capital. This division created a deep rift between the two kingdoms, especially regarding how they worshiped God and where their loyalty lay. From the very beginning, the northern kingdom struggled to stay faithful to the true God. Its first king, Jeroboam, feared that if the people went to Jerusalem to worship, they might turn back to the king of Judah. So he made golden calves in Bethel and Dan and told the people to worship there instead. This act marked the beginning of widespread idolatry in the northern kingdom. As Israel drifted further from the true worship of Yahweh, idolatry and corruption increased, widening the spiritual and cultural distance between Israel and Judah. Judah remained firm that the temple in Jerusalem was the only true place of worship, while Israel created its own centers of worship. Over time, this difference deepened the spiritual and cultural divide. The fall of the northern kingdom. In 722 BC, after centuries of disobedience to God's commands and the prophet's warnings, the northern kingdom faced divine judgment. The mighty Assyrian Empire, under King Shalmaneser V, invaded and conquered Israel, including its capital, Samaria. The fall of Samaria marked the end of the northern kingdom. The Assyrians deported many Israelites and scattered them throughout their empire. This event is often called the exile of the lost 10 tribes of Israel. 2 Kings 17 verse 6 says, "In the 9th year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria captured Samaria and carried the Israelites away to Assyria and placed them in Hala, on the Habor River of Gozan, and in the cities of the Medes." The Assyrians were known for resettling conquered peoples in different regions to weaken their national identity and prevent rebellion. In place of the exiled Israelites, the Assyrians brought people from Babylon, Cutha, Ava, Hamath, and Sepharvaim to live in Samaria. These new settlers brought their own gods and customs, which they mixed with the beliefs of the remaining Israelites. From this mixture of peoples, cultures, and religions, a new community emerged, the Samaritans. At first, the Samaritans continued worshiping their foreign gods. But when they faced problems, like attacks from lions, they believed they had offended the God of the land, Yahweh. So the king of Assyria sent back one of the exiled Israelite priests to teach the new settlers how to worship Yahweh. However, their worship remained a blend of Yahweh worship and idolatry. This mixed form of religion became a major reason why the Jews despised the Samaritans. The Jews prided themselves on pure worship at the Jerusalem temple and considered the Samaritans' mixed religion both corrupt and offensive. The Samaritans' separate worship. Over time, the Samaritans continued to develop their own form of worship. They accepted only the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible, the Torah, and rejected the rest of the Jewish scriptures. They also built their own temple on Mount Gerizim, which they believed to be the true holy place chosen by God. This further distanced them from the Jews, who held that Jerusalem was the only proper place for worship. For the Jews, the Jerusalem temple wasn't just a religious center. It was the symbol of God's covenant and presence among them. It was where sacrifices were offered and where the high priest interceded for the people's sins. But for the Samaritans, Mount Gerizim near Shechem was sacred. They believed that it was on this mountain that God chose to place his name and that their ancestors had worshipped there. Around the 5th century BC, they built their temple on Mount Gerizim and called it the true house of God. This disagreement over the proper place of worship turned into a fierce rivalry. The tension reached its peak when the Jewish high priest John Hyrcanus led an army to destroy the Samaritan temple on Mount Gerizim. This violent act cemented the centuries-long hostility between the two peoples. The conflict in Jesus' time. Even centuries later, in Jesus' time, this hostility was still alive. The Samaritans and Jews avoided each other whenever possible. Jews traveling between Galilee and Jerusalem often took a long detour around Samaria rather than pass through it. Jews considered Samaritans both racially impure and spiritually corrupt, while Samaritans resented the Jews for rejecting them. This mutual hatred is reflected in several New Testament stories. When Jesus and his disciples were traveling to Jerusalem, a Samaritan village refused to receive them because they were headed toward Jerusalem. The disciples James and John asked if they should call down fire from heaven to destroy the village, showing just how deep the hatred ran. Jesus breaks the barriers. Yet Jesus repeatedly crossed those boundaries with compassion and love. 1. The parable of the Good Samaritan. Perhaps the most famous example is the parable of the Good Samaritan, Luke 10 verses 30 to 37. In this story, Jesus tells of a Jewish man attacked by robbers and left for dead on the road from Jerusalem to Jericho. A priest and a Levite, both respected religious leaders, see him but pass by without helping. Then comes a Samaritan, someone whom Jesus' Jewish listeners would have despised. But it is the Samaritan who stops, tends the man's wounds, takes him to an inn, and pays for his care. By making a Samaritan the hero of the story, Jesus turned social expectations upside down. He showed that true neighborly love transcends ethnicity, religion, and prejudice. At the end, Jesus asks, "Which of these 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of robbers?" The answer was obvious, but hard to admit. The one who showed mercy, the Samaritan. 2. The healing of the 10 lepers. In another instance, Luke 17 verses 11 to 19, Jesus healed 10 lepers while passing through the region between Samaria and Galilee. All 10 were healed, but only one returned to thank him, and that man was a Samaritan. Jesus remarked, "Was no one found to return and give praise to God except this foreigner?" Again, he highlighted that gratitude, faith, and salvation are not limited to any one people group. 3. The Samaritan woman at the well. One of the most powerful moments of Jesus' ministry involving a Samaritan occurs in John 4, where he meets a Samaritan woman at Jacob's well. Breaking social and religious norms, Jesus not only speaks to a Samaritan, but also to a woman with a troubled past. During their conversation, he reveals deep spiritual truths, offering her living water that leads to eternal life. When she questions him about the correct place of worship, Mount Gerizim or Jerusalem, Jesus answers with a revolutionary statement. "Believe me, woman, the time is coming when you will worship the Father neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem. God is spirit, and his worshippers must worship in spirit and in truth." Moved by his words, the woman runs back to her town to tell others about Jesus, saying, "Could this be the Messiah?" Because of her testimony, many Samaritans came to believe in him, and Jesus stayed with them for 2 days teaching them about the kingdom of God. The lasting lesson. Through his actions and teachings, Jesus showed that God's love knows no boundaries, not of race, religion, or history. By showing compassion to the Samaritans, he shattered long-standing walls of hatred and division, offering instead a message of unity and grace for all people. Today, the Samaritan community still exists, though small. Only a few hundred people live in Israel and the West Bank. They continue to preserve their ancient traditions and identity. The story of the Samaritans reminds us of the destructive power of division and the healing power of reconciliation. Jesus' interactions with them demonstrate that God's love embraces everyone, regardless of background, ethnicity, or past. In a world still torn by division and prejudice, the message of love and unity that Jesus showed toward the Samaritans remains as vital today as it was 2,000 years ago. In the end, the history of the Samaritans is filled with tension, separation, and enmity, but also with moments of compassion and unity, especially in the life and ministry of Jesus. So what can we learn from this story? Perhaps this: our differences do not define us. How we treat one another in the light of God's love does. If the story of the Samaritans inspired you, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more deep biblical insights and timeless lessons that connect ancient truth with modern life. And remember, just as Jesus taught, love your neighbor, whoever they are.